Hey y'all. All right, sorry for that rough transition. Let's get in here. Please, please, let's get in here. Y'all, we have a lot to talk about. We've got the Texas primary. We've got some viral, I call them viral hot topics, some legal stuff with some viral slants to it. Here we go. I am still in Bali. That's why I'm wearing a kimono and my skin is glowing. And first order of business is I bought some panties, y'all. I bought some panties, y'all. I got my panties. I got some panties. Finally, I bought some drawers. I just want to thank you all, everyone who has been supporting the channel. This was because of you. Those who sent me cash apps. This is because of you, Tamika. Oh, wait. Let me read the cash app. This is just one pair. It's a two-piece. It's a two-piece set. Now, I'm not exactly sure I'm going to fit it. These are large. And these are, Asian people sizes. Hold on real quick. This is just as you all join. When you join, tell us where you're viewing from. Oh, I think I could do it. This is going to be me. Oh my God, they smell wonderful. They're fresh, as you saw, fresh out the box. Doo, 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 doo. This is so me. I'm going to be just prancing around the hotel room. Okay. This is all because of you. Like, subscribe. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. We're talking law and legal topics Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. Tune in with me on your little lunch break. We are going to break it down and be entertained. Yes. Tara says, I am crazy. Yes, that's me. You guys, I'm so happy. I don't know if you can see it on my face. Some people have said my skin is glowing. Thank you. My hair, I went swimming and I slipped on my hair a little bit. But I'm so happy. I did psychic school. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. I got a lot of Christians, like my mama's friends and stuff that watching, me talking about the psychic stuff just kind of makes them a lot uncomfortable. But I did go to psychic school out here, guys. And boy, oh boy, did I have a great time. Then I went and I got some blessings. I got this spiritual purity blessing. So if you watched my video the other day, I had announced that I'm going to be selling coochie because my lifestyle is entirely too expensive. So that was day one. And let me tell you how that blessing worked. That spiritual cleansing worked so well. 24 hours later, I was like, I'm not even selling coochie. I rethought it. My chakras got aligned. And then when the water hit me, she put it on my head and stuff. It hit me here, this chakra. Then I got throat chakra. I got a heart chakra. All the chakras were all wet up to where I said, I can't sell coochie. First of all, I'm lazy. That's just a truth that needs to be accepted by me. I'm really too lazy to sell cooch. This is just an intro. We're going to hop into the topics. Don't you worry. And then when I think about it, I'm like, who exactly am I selling it to? And why? Am I selling it because I want to be able to get crab legs and lobster more frequently than I already do? Yeah, that's exactly why I'd be selling coochie. Crab leg coochie. And that is not my purpose. I'm trying to live in my purpose now that I talked to this little high priestess and stuff and got blessed. So I'm just saying, I'm doing better now. I'm glowing now. I just feel, and I'm trying to be more consistent. That's why we did Monday through Thursday. Honey, the only reason I didn't go live yesterday is because my internet was so bad. I couldn't even watch YouTube at that hotel. So I was not about to insult you guys with that level of internet, especially because I was very irritated with my state of Texas and the election shenanigans. We're going to get into that. But for now, we're going to start with housekeeping measures. That's what you call it when you start out with court. The judge is like, all right, is there anything we need to talk about? Yes, housekeeping. measures. Oh, hold on. I need to put the comments on the screen, y'all. Which is number one, don't forget, you can always schedule a consultation with me. You can go to SimoneRedwine.com and have a free consultation with me if it is related to an injury matter. I help people with injury matters across the United States. And then secondly, if it's non-injury, you can go to SimoneRedwine.com. A consultation starts at just $199 for 30 minutes. I have some lined up today. I am super excited, from small business to divorce to background checks, all of those things. So we've got a few things on the docket today. Don't forget, you can always go to SimoneRedwine.com. All right, first up, let's start with, this was crazy, y'all. Somebody needs to get beat up. And I think it should be this little girl mama. Here we go.
Big story. Oklahoma City police are investigating after a 14-year-old girl turned up pregnant with twins.
She's allegedly being used as a surrogate. News 4's Abigail Franklin is on Crime Watch with more. Abigail.
Well, Heather, Kevin, the court documents say the victim in this case has not revealed how she became pregnant, but police and Child Protective Services talked with her mother, and that interview revealed something pretty disturbing details.
It's a stunning claim. A mother tells police her daughter wanted siblings, and the solution was for that daughter to be a surrogate mom. The investigation began last December. Oklahoma City responded to a possible sexual assault of a 14-year-old at an apartment complex near North Penn and Northwest 122nd. A referral from Child Protective Services indicated the teen was pregnant with twins. The father, possibly her mother's 36-year-old boyfriend. The mother reportedly told police her daughter desperately wanted additional siblings, and she wanted children with her current boyfriend, but couldn't since her tubes were tied. The documents say the mother denied allowing her boyfriend to impregnate her daughter, but police obtained a search warrant in order to collect DNA from the man to determine paternity. The teen, now 15, is due later this year. While waiting for those results, neither the mother or the boyfriend have been arrested, and the teen is now in protective custody.
Court documents say another child was also taken from the mother. The mother has left the state, and the boyfriend's location is unknown.
Disturbing story. Oklahoma City police are investigating after
to say, I did this for my daughter because she really wanted us siblings. You need to get punched in the throat. What's wrong with people? I said, when I first listened to that, I said, what's wrong with people? And then I realized, wait a minute, they're from Oklahoma. That could be it. That arrest everybody. Yes. Lloyd, it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. But more than that, I bet you it would be one thing. See, people like to use this term surrogate loosely. A surrogate is someone who is implanted with an egg and sperm. That is not someone who is molested with an M, molested, okay, in a way, because you can't carry a kid because you done tied your tubes. Because I bet you anything, they did not go to a egg freezing doctor and then say to the egg freezing doctor, hey, I want you to put these in this 14-year-old. There's no doctor who would do that. That's against medical ethics. So instead, what likely happened is they had her lay down with a mama's boyfriend. Okay? That's called molestation. That's what that is. I've always felt like the act of forcing a teenager to go through labor should be a crime. But we're in America, so there's that. It says she was desperate to keep her. That's what it was. This nut bucket of the mama really wanted this man. That man, it sounds like, really wanted a child. She couldn't give it to him. And her broke ass, yes, broke A, said, we're going to use my daughter. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. When I stopped practicing law, like when I retired, I want to start a secret business. Y'all tell me if you would invest in my secret business. By invest, I really just mean recommend inmates. I want to start the secret business where you can, like, if you are a victim of a crime like this, right? If you're that 14-year-old girl, that man who did this to you, you can tell me what prison he's in, what's his inmate number, all his stuff. And then me, with my benevolent heart, I will put money on the books of other inmates, not really doing a paper trail, but kind of doing a paper trail, and then have those inmates whoop that man's ass, whoop that tail, whoop it. Just drag him through the halls of the prison. Okay. Now I have to do due diligence, but we could be like, hey, who knows, Sherman Jenkins at the Oklahoma City prison, at the Oklahoma prison located in such and such town. And people be like, oh, I got a boyfriend over in that prison. Let me see if my boyfriend knows him. And then, we put some Cheetos on your boyfriend books and your boyfriend just whoop his tail. That's how my mind works. And so maybe that Bali pure cleansing didn't work so good. No, it did work. That is actually how it's supposed to work, because Balinese people and their cultures, they believe in karma. And this is related. Let me speak to that. I'm over here in Bali, so I'm recording from here. Guys, if you're new here, I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, where we break down and we talk about legal topics and so forth. And over here, the people are so nice and kind. They don't earn a ton of money, but they live very happy lives. And I kept thinking, I said, I love how happy these people were. And I want to understand more. So almost like I bottle it up and take it with me. And I thought, why are these people so happy? And I was having conversations with them. And part of them is they very much believe in a culture that believes in karma. And a component of karma is not revenge, but karma is be good to others with zero expectation. Just be kind to others and kindness will come back to you. You're not nice because you got capitalism and you can get tipped more. You're nice because you like operating in a higher energy. That's the general discussion of what karma is. And I said, well, why we ain't got that shit in America? Why we ain't got that stuff in America? And then I thought about it. Y'all let me know your thoughts. See, in America, we had slavery, for those 400 years and all. And in America, you cannot have a society based on karma that also actively believes in slavery. By actively, I mean, in recent years, in the last 400. Because you cannot have karma where you have slavery. Otherwise, the slave owners would have to be worried that any day now, some bullshit's about to happen to them, just like they inflicted on others. So I say that to say, somebody needs to give this little girl's mama some karma, as well as the man that laid down and did that. All you mofos need to go to prison. Speaking of people avenging those who have been attacked, this man just won his race for sheriff. Okay, he just won his race for sheriff in Arkansas, where most of the people have 3 teeth or less. It says, neighbors, this is interesting. An Arkansas father who took the life of a man who allegedly abused and assaulted his child has won big. He won 54% of the vote for sheriff. Aaron Spencer, who reported on, drew a lot of attention in 2024 for the fatal pow of 67-year-old Michael Fosler. Fosler was out on a $50,000 bail with 43 criminal counts against him, including one for at least some for the essay of Spencer's 13-year-old daughter. The night of the incident, actually, I'm going to let Spencer tell you himself.
Would be running for sheriff?
No. This is not a calculated step I've taken my entire life to get here.
Aaron Spencer made national headlines when he launched his campaign to run for sheriff of Lono County, Arkansas. That's because he's also charged with second-degree murder.
Thank you, man. When's your court date? Sorry, not till later this spring.
While he's pleaded not guilty, Spencer readily admits to shooting and killing 67-year-old Michael Fosler, his teenage daughter's alleged sexual abuser. At the time of the shooting, Fosler was awaiting trial on dozens of charges, including sexual assault and internet stalking of a child, and had a no-contact order against Spencer's daughter. Ahead of his own trial, Spencer is advised by his lawyer to not discuss his case, but his wife previously said they thought their daughter had been kidnapped that night on October 8th, 2024.
It was the middle of the night when Spencer and his wife discovered that their daughter was missing, and court documents show he jumped in his truck to go looking for her, eventually finding her in this area right here. She was with Fosler, and this is also where the confrontation took place.
According to court documents, Spencer said he observed his daughter trying to exit Fosler's vehicle, but it appeared Fosler grabbed her and stopped her. Spencer said Fosler then exited his vehicle with an unknown object in his hand and lunged at him, and that's when he opened fire. His wife saying, "We 100% in the moment thought he had taken her to kill her because she was the only witness in Fosler's upcoming trial."
And your daughter specifically, how's she doing?
Things can be a little bit of a roller coaster at times. I think that's anybody who's dealt with trauma.
Just over a year from that night,
I'm announcing my candidacy to run for Lonoke County Sheriff.
When you decide to do this, you already are facing charges.
It was a very big decision, and it was a family decision.
What was her reaction?
And they were like, "You're crazy, right? You know, that's wild. Why would we do this?" Honestly, I think I was like a lot of other people where we didn't fully pay attention to what was happening in our local communities, the ramification and impact that these types of elections have at the home front here.
running against Spencer on the Republican ticket is longtime incumbent John Staley.
I'm John Staley, your Lonoke County Sheriff.
He's also the sheriff who oversaw Spencer's arrest.
I don't think Aaron Spencer's a bad person. I think that he was trying to protect his child, and there's a lot more to this case that I can't even release, that we've found, that we've worked on.
How is this case just sort of, and the fact that he is running for sheriff, impacted this community, in your opinion?
A lot of people are just saying, I would do what he did. I don't blame him. And although I can understand why people feel that way, you've got to separate your feelings when you're a law enforcement officer.
To think you can just take the law into your own hands like that and then still think you can run for sheriff, it's just weird.
What do you say to those people who are like, oh, he's just doing this to help his criminal trial?
No, it definitely hasn't made anything easier. I did what any good father would do, to save and protect their child.
He doesn't have any law enforcement background. That doesn't bother you?
Not one bit. No, he does not. When I was 5 or 6 years old, it was the first time I was molested. And that's why I want Aaron Spencer to stop things like that from happening.
There were women there who were victims themselves of sexual assault.
We've been hearing
you're the
that,
reason.
Yeah, all year. All year. They have been reaching out to us.
Are you prepared for all scenarios?
Let me just tell you, one thing this shows in America is, boy, it's good to be white. It is good to be, the whole world is at your fingertips. Any of my viewers out there, if you're dating white boys, ain't nothing wrong with that, okay? But if you're dating a mediocre one, your mama should slap you. Because it ain't no excuse to be a mediocre white man. The world is at your fingertips. You can do anything you want. You can be just as unqualified and underqualified as you want, and you will still have a shot at sheriff. And sheriff is so important, y'all. In California, some sheriffs make over $300,000 a year. Now, I've never understood why sheriff or anything that is like where you're a police officer. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable, y'all. I'm my bosam's about to fall out. Why you should be allowed to be sheriff without any law enforcement experience? That sounds crazy. Insane. In the same way that, like, you can't be a judge without being a lawyer for it. In Texas, it's at least 3 years. So why, the flying fart, should a librarian be able to become sheriff? Now, going back to the facts of the situation, I don't feel bad for the dead guy. Good, one less pedo. Take him out. Let him go. However, I do think it's an interesting testament. See, this would not have happened if that man was of color, more specifically if he was black. Because you don't want that. Yeah. Somebody said, that's the energy that I need from men when it comes to these people. Yeah, I like that energy. So I'm not at all saying that he should get anything other than justice, right? What I am saying is the same way that this man is given grace, all people in America should be given this grace. And when I read the headline, I was like, this sounds crazy. But then when I saw he caught the man red-handed with his daughter, hey, bye-bye. I don't even care if he and his wife are lying. I don't care if he and the wife are lying and that, you know, the guy wasn't grabbing his daughter. My daughter's in your car and there is a stay away order because you're 67 and you touched her inappropriately. You got to go. I'm actually more shocked that the charges are remaining on him, that they're continuing with those charges. So there are a lot of, what is it? Yep. Somebody said, not guilty. Good afternoon. Not guilty. Okay. But I think Arkansas jury, I mean, remember, these are the same Arkansas juries that used to hang people for winking, you know, hang Black people for allegedly winking at Caucasians. So this jury, this is going to be a waste of taxpayer money. They better drop these charges. And perhaps now that he's won, they will. But this, if nothing else, I would say this is excellent legal jury tampering. Because it's going to be a lot of people that want to be on the jury. Let me speak on that. It's going to be a lot of people that want to be on the jury in order to effectuate justice for the sheriff. One thing that I really despise in the law is that when brown people, when we go to jury duty, we will get ourselves excluded. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. If you're like, oh no, I couldn't, like I used to do death penalty cases in law school. And people would say, oh no, I couldn't sentence someone to death. Ma'am, don't get nobody that. You're who I want on the jury because it's going to take you a lot more thinking it through, logic, reasoning, etc., for you to give that type of sentence. Basically, what I'm saying is a lot of times in white America and white culture, if they want to get okay, there we go. A lot of times if white people want to get on the jury, they just don't say anything and they get picked. When we don't ever want to get on a jury, but a lot of times we need to be on certain juries to even get a shot at justice. It says Arkansas does have plenty history of abuse. I'm wondering, how did the daughter and the man meet? I bet you anything that it was like one of those online chat rooms kind of things. Maybe that old fart was lying about his age, but it's not clear. It's not clear. All right, moving right along. We're going to move to this story. Rapper Quavo hit with $3 million tax lien for unpaid taxes by the IRS. Listen, I don't know who be doing these taxes. This is what happens when y'all be picking one of these big booty girls off Instagram to do your taxes. They're talking about who got a fresh BBL, okay? Fresh BBL. And on Instagram posting talking about, come here, I get you a tax refund. Is that who you're picking, Quavo? I think the whole Three Amigos, whatever they used to call themselves. What do they call themselves? Shoot, they've been independent for a minute. The Migos, not the Three Amigos, the Migos. I think all of them, because Cardi B's husband has a $1.5 million tax lien. We got Quavo, and then the dead one, bless his heart, Takeoff. I'm sure he got a whole bunch of taxes to where he left that on behalf of his family. You know, if you die with tax liens, like, actually, let me be quiet. I don't know what happens, but I'm pretty sure they make you pay them. I'm pretty sure they make your estate pay them, rather. But it probably just depends. Somebody let me know if you have a loved one who died, and I am talking federal income taxes or state income taxes. I know every state is different. Does your loved one's estate have to pay those? I know property taxes got to get paid. before you could transfer a house or this or that. But I want to know about this. But I think these mofos, they need to use whoever is doing Cardi B's taxes, because Cardi ain't got no liens. Cardi, one thing she did is she said, look, I may not be the most educated, but I'm going to hire good quality professionals. And that's something that these characters don't be doing. Now, next up, speaking of money, tax liens, and debts, Tasha K says she ain't struggling to make lawsuit payments with Cardi B. You know, Tasha K blocked me. I'm so proud of it. She blocked me because I told the truth. I did a story, maybe January, talking about how Tasha K may have voided her whole settlement with Cardi B, because part of the settlement says that she's not allowed to talk about Cardi B, and she accused Cardi B of witness tampering with respect to Stephon Diggs and the lawsuit against him. Anyway, Tasha K blocked me, but here's what Tasha has to say. She ain't struggling to make lawsuit payments. Specifically, this is the lawsuit with Cardi B over defamation, where Tasha K was ordered to pay $4.1 million plus interest, and that is inclusive of attorney's fees. Here we go.
Big one as much as we can. I know you can't do much
I
talking
can't.
about
I want
it.
to India. I'm trying to keep my payments low, bro. Like,
so how
20,
do those
20K a month?
I was
bro.
gonna say, how do those payments look?
20K a month. That's just what it is.
So you're basically working.
No, I'm not
double.
basically working double. Nothing.
Nothing. You're just doing regular stuff.
That's bottom line. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So I'm not working to pay this, baby. Do I look like I'm struggling? I got a publicist.
Actually,
I got a whole team of entourage that roll with me.
Wait,
We're
wait,
good.
So that's 20.
wait, just a moment. When she says, do I look like I'm struggling? I wish I could. I don't know how to rewind this. We gonna get back. Hold on. I gotta replay it. We've got to see this. We got to see the outfit. We've got to see the outfit. Okay. It's the leopard and the cuffs. I own a suit like that I purchased at Burlington Coat Factory for about $14.99. It had a red sticker on it that read reduced. So I say that to say, I think she has the money, but on this here day, on today, it just may not be giving I'm rich. It's not giving I'm rich, although I do believe she is rich. Okay. Someone said, Mackie Samuels. Baby, I'm gonna talk about this today. I see your comment that you just made. I'm wondering. There you go. Okay, so this is Tasha's outfit. I'm gonna hit play one more time. I just need, and it's the slick down. The slick down says, "Hey, I was running out in a hurry." But let's just hear it again. It's the slick down for me. She said, do I look like I'm hurting? It's those cuffs. See, this is how it is. This is how you can tell that I'm wearing my Burlington Coat Factory suit, is the cuffs have zero lining. When you buy a suit with
20K a month,
you probably went to the flea market to get it, or Burlington Coat Factory and got it for $14.99 clearance. Here we go. One more time.
I was gonna say, how do those payments look?
20K a month. That's just what it is.
So you're basically working.
No, I'm not
double.
basically working double. Nothing.
Hold on. She is doing so well. Let me tell you something. I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I'm not going to tell you a lie. $20K a month, y'all, that is a $2 million. Yeah, that's a $2 million. Yeah, that's a $2 million mortgage. You get you a $2 million house. That's $20K.
And you're just doing regular stuff.
That's bottom line. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not working to pay this. Baby, do I look like I'm struggling? I got a publicist here. I got a whole team of entourage that roll with me. No, we're good.
So that 20 doesn't affect you at all?
No, it does not. He's partly my CFO. Does it affect me?
You ain't had to fix your chair when he said no, man.
You know, there was a lot of reports that came out that tried to say you had like $1,000 in your bank account.
It was true. I had $1,000 in that account.
Yeah.
I had in that account. They tried to hit. It was only $1,000 in there, but they didn't get it. because they asked for the $4 million, and Chase wasn't finna let $4 million negative go.
Yeah.
So they let me keep my $1,000, and I took the $1,000 out of the account and gave it away. I said, hey guys, tell me what your business plans are. I'm gonna first fruit this money of $1,000 to somebody that needs it. And I did. And the person who got it showed up at my show in Cleveland, Ohio to thank me. She was able to start her LLC and start her business with that $1,000.
But the case ended up, girl, shut up. She like doing this bullshit. The bullshit I'm talking about is she wants to turn into this like benevolent Christian when the conversation was not about this. The conversation is how you tried to ruin this woman, her mental health, telling people she had a permanent STD, telling these people she did drugs, messing with the girl's endorsements by saying things like that. Girl, be quiet. Now, but this is also why people kept saying Cardi B needs to leave Tasha K alone. Tasha K don't have the money and Cardi B will never collect. And I was saying, I don't do that. As long as she has a YouTube channel, that girl has money. One thing I'm going to say, I always say is, if you got a breach of contract or if you got a judgment against somebody, you want to first find out. So this is one of the things that people call and get consultations with me on. Someone owes you a judgment or you're thinking about suing someone in any state. We're going to analyze what is the likelihood you can even collect, among other issues we're going to discuss. Because it's like, what's the point of suing somebody if you're not going to collect? But here, she had Google money. So that was guaranteed. Well, Tasha K was like, I ain't got it. Remember, she kept saying she didn't have the money for years. When it was like, you may not want to give her the money, but you have it somewhere because you have a thriving YouTube channel. And here's how YouTube money works. The money is calculated in 1 month, in a particular month. So right now we are in March. So you calculate for the whole month of February, just based on you making videos, you turn on the money icon and they just place ads in there. You don't even do anything for it. They place ads in there. That's how YouTube money works. In addition, you have the option where you can go solicit sponsorships. So she has wine companies, she has law firms, she has whatever. Then what happens is on the 21st of the following month, YouTube cuts you a check. I estimate she's probably, based on what I understand about how the money is calculated. Here's how you calculate it. I'm gonna just give it to you. Y'all ready? Lean in. YouTube money generally works like this. For every 1,000 views is $100. So if she has a video with 300,000 views, she likely got $3,000 for that video. And it keeps rolling. So the next month that is still on let's say the next month that video gets another 100,000 views, you get another $1,000. You see? And then on the 21st of each month is when you get paid for the prior month. Direct deposit into your check, into your account. So what happened here is Tasha K was doing all her shenanigans. And initially, Cardi B just had a court order to collect whatever was in that Chase account because she did what's called discovery, asked about all the bank accounts, discovered the bank accounts, found that one, did the paperwork and the proper court orders to be able to collect on that. All right. But then what got Tasha K talking about, we need to work on something. We got to work something. We got to work out a finance. We got to do a payment plan. Was because Cardi B did what I said she should do, which was garnished the YouTube money. She got an order, had the order sent to Google. Google is who owns YouTube, etc. Had it sent to Google and YouTube, where Tasha K did not get her money on the 21st. Baby, when you don't get your money on the 21st, you be like a crackhead. Where's my money at? Where's my money at? Where's my money at? Because we're very used to our money. Okay, we're very used to our, and we want to make sure this something happened. She did not get, it was $9,000 and something dollars. Why? Because Tasha K is smarter than she looks. One thing about that lady, she don't look like she's necessarily rocking with it all, but she's smarter. Either she is or her husband is. Either way, she picked that man, so I'm gonna give her full credit. I'm going to give her full credit. So as a result, when that $9,000 check got took, that's when Tasha K stopped the fucking shenanigans and went back to Cardi B to try to get the payment plan. Also, because I said, you cannot hide your money from Cardi B without hiding it from the IRS. She got too much money going on to go to prison. And she don't look like she could fight good. She look like she'll run her mouth. Now, I do think in jail, she would be her own form of a kingpin because number one, she's entertaining as hell. She probably run the jail comedy shows. Number two, I believe she could really be a good prison manipulator. So she would start the mess and the drama within the prison in exchange for Cheetos. That's what it gives. I don't know. You guys tell me. But what I want you to take away from this segment is simply, Tasha K is right. She's not struggling. The $20K a month, though, that she's paying is part of this awesome payment plan that I'm going to give her and her lawyer credit for, as well as Cardi and Cardi's lawyer credit for, because she still got to pay the full $4.1 million. It was like she did this like media ploy that was like, I had success. My wonderful bankruptcy lawyer. I resolved everything with Cardi. No, she can't talk about Cardi. She has a payment plan, and pursuant to the payment plan, each year she has to give Cardi a certain amount. So apparently, according to Tasha, the current amount is $20K. But then at the end of each year, she has to provide her financials, her cash flow documents, her tax documents to Cardi's attorneys. And based on how well she's doing, those payments increase each year up to and until the full 4.1 plus interest plus lawyers. You know what? I'm gonna take away the interest. It may not be interest. No. I read the documents. I've done too many videos on this. Till all their money is paid. Hey, Afra, good to see you. All right. So the answer is congratulations. So congratulations to Tasha K on that, because it truly is a feat. And she does these little ads for her bankruptcy lawyer. Sounds like to me, that's a good lawyer. That's a good man, Savannah. That's a good lawyer, Savannah. And let me say this finally. I try to mention this every time I talk about Cardi B's case, Cardi B and Tasha K's case. The number one thing is this could have all been prevented for $20 a month. Did you realize that? Tasha K's whole lawsuit against Cardi B could have been prevented for about $20 a month. Here's what I mean. Tasha K lacked defamation insurance. Defamation insurance is everything. I get up here on this internet and I run my mouth, and I am as accurate as I can be. I'm not sitting here doing like gossipy stuff, but I even have defamation insurance. Why? Defamation insurance for people like Tasha K. You're running a business, right? You probably you should not run a business without at least general liability. That's if somebody slips and falls on your premises. She has employees. So if an employee tries to sue you for sexual harassment, or saying another coworker sexual harassment, or saying you fired them for being racist, you have all this insurance, right? Like my insurance is probably like $100 a month. But within that, 20 of that is for defamation. How that works is the moment Cardi B sued her, she would just notify her insurance company. She's got a deductible like you have if you got a car wreck. Might pay that $500 deductible. Your attorneys take it from there. If it's a $4 million judgment, they pay it. They defend you the whole time. More than likely, they're going to settle it for you. So don't be feeling sorry for her. She had all the tools. She just didn't use them. And then she had a terrible with a U, not an E. I'm saying it on purpose because they was that bad lawyer in her case who didn't know nothing about defamation. And therefore, Tasha K's approach to the Cardi B lawsuit was thinking of it as a marketing expense. She was calculating all these new viewers, all this new traffic, all this new YouTube money that she was making, because now that people were hearing about the lawsuit, they were coming to her page. And her strategy was awesome. I'm going to leave the videos up. And then if I'm found guilty or liable, not guilty because it wasn't criminal, if I'm found liable, I'll just file for bankruptcy. Well, little did she know, because either her lawyer was slow and didn't tell her, or she didn't share this stupid strategy with her lawyer. If you are found guilty and granted what do they call it? Punitive damages, which means you did this intentionally, then it cannot be dismissed in bankruptcy. So that's why she filed for bankruptcy with originally a different law firm. That law firm was not able to get the bankruptcy dismissed. And then she switched over to the new guy. And the new guy, he couldn't get it dismissed either. But what he could do was get her a dope payment plan. All right. Afra says, I watched Tasha before the Cardi drama started. I wished she had just stopped, but I get that she didn't want to allow herself to not be able to report gossip. Yep, I got insurance for consulting. Good job. Yeah, because Cardi B was saying Cardi B would not agree to any settlement with Tasha K unless the settlement included a provision that said Tasha K would not in the future talk about Cardi B or her family. Tasha K said, I can't agree to that due to the fact that, I am a blogger and you do newsworthy thing, and I may have to talk about you in the future. Well, lo and behold, the judge in this case, the judge ultimately said, you can't talk about Cardi B. So she could have gotten for free, what was it, 6 years later, she paid $4.1 million plus interest for, because in the end, the judge still ordered that the bankruptcy settlement have a provision in there that says she couldn't talk about her. Someone said, I've never even heard of Tasha K person until this case. What was she famous for? She wasn't just doing what she's doing, blogging. Exactly. So I get it. It wasn't a bad strategy. I just think she stuck with the strategy for too long. She should have dipped out at some point at the beginning, maybe just before trial, where she could have took everything down, paid Cardi a smaller amount, like, I don't know, maybe a $100,000 payment plan. Not no 4.1 million. Get out here. You sounding crazy. You are sounding crazy. All right. Last one before we get to Texas and Texas's crazy A stuff. All right. Hector Resenda says, he says, my neighbor spent about $80,000 on his son's college finance degree. I too have a finance degree. Mine's from University of Pittsburgh with highest honors. It says his son graduated, filled out 105 applications, and couldn't land a finance job. Right now, he's managing a Jimmy John's while he, quote, waits for a break. Then my neighbor said, I'm going to introduce him to some of my friends so he can get an entry-level role. And it hit me. If the outcome is still who you know, not what you studied, what exactly did the 80K buy? Funky Dineva said it best. The experience, college, is bigger than the degree. Hold on. Can we just have a minute? I know everyone did not have the luxury of going to college. Why does this look like that? I don't like how this looks. Hold on a second, guys. Let me make that a little bigger. Yeah, everyone doesn't have the luxury of going to college, but I would like to say, there we go. Like, I grew up watching A Different World, the TV show, and it made college look like so much fun. I wanted to go to college because I wanted to keep the party going. I wanted to have fun. But also, I got some homegirls who didn't go to school. They went to school later in life. We'll say they went later in life, maybe University of Phoenix or one of those. They didn't live in the dorms. One of these girls, she can't get along with nobody. Every fucking time we got a group trip, she go fall and get into it with somebody. And one time somebody asked me, what is wrong with her? And I said, she didn't live in a dorm. She didn't live in a dorm. I said, if she had lived in a dorm and pulled these stunts that she pulls, like on our girl trip and stuff, she would have got her ass beat and it would have knocked them blocks out of her. Okay. She wouldn't do this dumb-ish. Like, she'll do stuff like, she knows you like some, like, we're on a group trip, right? She knows you're vibing with this guy. When you get up and go to the bathroom, she will ask him for his phone number and his Instagram and start DMing him. Needless to say, she ain't invited to no more of them type of parties. She ain't invited to no more of them. So I say this to say, number one, it's absolutely about more than just the education. Number two, this guy sounds like a mediocre white man. I'm just gonna say, he sounds like a mediocre white boy. He probably had average grades, etc. Black people, we don't have the luxury of not getting a bachelor's Because if not, then alternatives are like scamming on the internet, being an influencer, those kind of things. So for us, now we all know African American women are the most educated demographic in the nation. That is because that's the minimum that we have to do to just maybe get the interview. Maybe. And it doesn't even mean we're going to get a fair shot. So there's that. But also, I just want to say this for those of you guys who've got kids in college, students in college, or whatever. Don't you ever let your child, your loved one who was a business major, graduate from college without an internship. I had 4. Mine were all paid. That was a blessing. I had 4 internships in business. Oh, one of my favorite HBCUs. And, you know, I got my issues. I worked at HBCU. I do not like how this particular HBCU and a few others will put your money, mess with your money, pretend like they didn't get your tuition check. However, FAMU has the best internship program. Literally, they have a program called SBI, I forget what the S is for, but it's Business Institute. It is their business major. That is a 5-year degree. You cannot graduate with that degree without having at least one internship. And they are paid. They are paid internships. Paid, and you have to do one for a whole semester. FAMU is the model. This is why U.S. World and News Report had them listed as a top 5 business school in the United States of America for years, until the Florida government start effing with their money and would take away money, take away resources and stuff, because they didn't like the fact they thought that should go, their resource should only go to the white kids. That's another story for another day. But don't let your kids graduate. What do? There are programs. I did a program called Inroads is one that I did. I think there's one called Clio. There's one called SOAR, or there's one for New York City. But you got to have your kids work with career services, and they can't get out. I don't care if they have to add an extra semester to get an internship. Because here's what happens. When your child does not by getting an internship, that internship is part of a feeder program where it's a route to a permanent placement, right? Whether it's the entry-level leadership program like Johnson & Johnson has, whatever. If they don't get an internship, then what happens is their resume goes in the same pile of people with actual fucking experience. Now they've got to compete with Martha, who's been working in a marketing for 15 years and recently got laid off because the economy is shit because we've got an idiot for our president. You don't want your child competing with Martha. You want your child competing with all the other entry-level candidates. So that's the beauty of both internships, but also using career services. Hey, Terry said she did Inroads too. I love me some Inroads. Somebody said, baby, I agree, at least 2 full years. Yes. A. Burke said, I went to state college. The only reason I got a job in my field is because I did several internships that I got myself. The other thing about internship is this: just take the first one. Just take the first one. Once you get one internship, it's so much easier to get another. My first one was with IBM in their corporate sales center in Coppell, Texas. Then after that, I got one with Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which is BNSF Railway. Baby, they were so good to me. Do you know, as an intern, first of all, I knocked that interview out the park. One thing I could do was talk, as you can see. I did so good at that internship that at one point the CEO flew into town he had some other meeting and asked to meet me because he was like, I heard so much about you. I was like, what? They gave me a project, flew me on the private jet to Canada to help negotiate a deal between BNSF and Canada Pacific. Baby, Inroads is it. Period. Point blank. That's where some of my best girlfriends are from. Amanda, Fallon Gray. Fallon Gray now is Fallon Gray Jones. Anyway, all right. Finally, last and certainly not least, Texas. We're going to talk about this. All right. So the Texas election was a poop show. It was doo-doo, hot doo-doo on a platter. Okay. There were all type of, let me do this way. I don't even want to do this. All right. with Texas, there were all types of ways in which the Republicans of Texas tried to disenfranchise and make it more difficult to vote. I'm going to take my sip. Then we're about to deep dive because I'm giving it all. Oh, I'm going to take my sip. Actually, before we do, I need to give props to the one, the only Judge Amber Givens. Okay. Judge Amber Givens is an African-American judge who she has been presiding at least since 2014 in Dallas County as judge, and she just won the primary to become the district attorney. Child, I don't think you understand. Hold on, let me show you a picture of her. When I show you a picture of her, you'll also realize why this is such an accomplishment. Right. Look how she did her hair. She shaved her hair on the side because she presides being herself. That's what I want you to see. Beautiful girl. She's herself. She wears her hair in the ways that she feels beautiful and is. But this is Judge Amber Givens. I am so excited for her. Me and her, we talked in 2017 where she was like, ultimately, this was her goal. They tried everything. They tried to say that she had violated rules, that she allegedly, one of the things she was accused of was having one of her assistants during Zoom preside over a case and make an important ruling while she was on vacation, basically pretend to be her. That is just the dumbest ish I've ever heard, but what have you. Anyway, Amber Givens is now, she won the primary, and in a county like Dallas, even with the redistricting, basically the voting is so strongly swayed Democrat that effectively she's going to be the next DA. I mean, something could always change, but effectively she won the primary. So I want to be clear. She hasn't won DA. She won the primary that sets the DA. So there's still going to be the general election, and she would take office January 1 of 2027. Now, I also want to encourage, if you have a child of color that's in law school and wants to do criminal law, they need to apply for a job in Dallas County, because to work under a woman like her as DA would be such a blessing. She is a teacher. She is an educator. You gonna have the best possible criminal law legal foundation to your career. You can't even pay for it, but she will pay you, but you can't pay for it. So, all right, let's go into Texas foolishness. Texas and their foolishness. Now, I want to play this clip for y'all, which is a clip of a woman who, it was heart-wrenching to watch. We're going to talk first about overall what happened with the Texas polls. Why were there these issues? Why were so many people? They were talking about like a third of the people being turned away, being told on election day they were at the wrong place and they could not vote. Why did this happen? And then we're going to talk about the results. All right.
Contain my anger at what's happening. I am in Dallas, Texas, and I just voted. But I've never experienced what I've experienced before. I live in Capel, Texas. I'm less than a mile away from the main government building where I always been voting for everything else, including, last November. But now when I went up there, they have us all separated in different voting locations. If you're Republican or Democrat, they only gave us 2 locations, but the Republican Party can vote in a nice, fancy, pretty building with a nice, updated machines. They got me at some freaking elementary school where there's some teenagers in there and only 2 adults with some old, outdated voting machines to allow us to vote, and I had to drive 3 miles out of my way just to get here. This is ridiculous. This is not democracy. How dare you guys? Why are you allowing this to happen to this country? I am a veteran. I have served my country, and it's ridiculous. They only have 3 voting machines in there. Only 3. So when people get off of work, they're going to be here all day. But their main locations for the Republicans that I saw, which voting locations, they have all the super nice ones. They have multiple machines to cast their ballots. So they're making us cast our ballots separately, where there's only Democratic polling locations and only Republican polling locations. And they used to have the signs of like who's a Democrat, who's Republican, and for all the things that you're voting for. They don't have none of it. This is not America. Okay, I'm so upset.
Okay. All right. There was a lot that she expressed there. And I want to cover this. I want to cover, hold on, I don't know. Hold on. I want to cover this gently. There we go. I want to cover this gently because I'm not going to make light of her concerns, but I have to correct some myths. So, because of my ADD, I'm going to go ahead and answer the question on the screen. I want you to since we're live, drop any questions that you might have in the chat right now, because I'm starring them as I'm explaining what I'm explaining, and I want to be able to answer them. She's upset and she earned it. Yeah, she's not earned it, but she's validly upset, and she just feels like she has been taken advantage of. Somebody did say crying to your phone and posting it to the internet is insane. But I think she wanted to just, let people know how bad it has gotten. Now, Angel, thanks for joining. Hit that like and subscribe, guys. Angel says, my sister-in-law lives in Dallas. She called me and told me they had separate lines for Democrat and Republican. Do I know if that's true? I'm going to say yes, but it has to be. It's always been true. This is historical. Here's why. In the primary, that is the only time they have different lines. That's because in the primary, you're voting for who is going to represent your party. You're voting in the primary for who's going to represent your party in the election. So literally when I went, and remember, I am born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I currently live in Houston. So I know exactly what she's talking about. And I'm going to give you how this happened and how we got there. And also what are the solutions. So what happened is when you walk in, they ask you, so it's one polling place will have both. You're never going to go to a location that is only Dem or only Republican. So I have to clarify that. She said that's not true. You will never show up. Let's say it is a local elementary school where you vote, or a rec center. That's usually what they are. Rec center, elementary school, church. If you show up, they have to have both parties, but they ask you, are you going to be voting in the Democratic or Republican primary? You cannot vote in both, which makes sense because you're either a Dem or you're Republican, but you're not both. This is also to prevent one party from messing up the other party's primary. So for example, sometimes historically what would happen, my grandma told me, is when Trump was running, there were some Democrats that went and they voted in the Republican primary because they felt that Trump was such an idiot that if Hillary was against him, she would surely win, as an example. Okay. So they did things like that. So yes, when you go in, it's one location, but they say, which are you voting in, the Democratic primary or Republican? And then they hand you a piece of paper with a voting number on it. And then you go over to the Democrat or Republican side, and they give you a ballot because it's completely different people on each one, right? Once you get that ballot, the machines, from what I recalled, you could, they might have had machines on one side. Yeah, she might be correct. They may have had so many Dem machines versus Republican. But what you have to understand as well, right? Context matters, is that the voter turnout here was the biggest and historic. Democratic voter turnout was higher than with Beto O'Rourke in 2018. It was huge. So usually it is more equal to the Republican turnout. throughout the state, especially where on the Republican side, you've got Senate, you've got governor, you've got these contested offices that have not historically been contested. So that was part of it. Yep. And it's based on what you add to your voter registration. So anybody, and also let me clarify, anybody can vote in any primary. So if your last primary you voted in was Republican, if the next primary you decide I want to vote in the Democratic, you can't. Nobody checks nothing. But the only thing you cannot do is if you vote, let's say in the Democratic primary, but then the Republicans have a runoff, right? Because that would be a Republican primary runoff. And they are for Senate, for senator, there is a runoff. You cannot now go vote in the Republican runoff for Senate. You have to stay in whatever party is. You have to stay in their voting for the rest of this voting season, meaning through the general election. Now, when general election happens, though, in November, you can go vote for whoever you want. You can do whatever. No one even knows. In a general election, no one knows who you voted for. In the primary, all they know is that you voted for candidates of whatever party. And that's simply based on the primary that you voted for. All right. The other thing about Texas is, so the biggest thing with Texas that was an issue was that there was so much confusion that I think it was the Democratic Party filed with the state of Texas and to ask that the polls be extended past 7 p.m. 7 p.m. was over. They got it extended to 9. And the law stated that if you were in line at 7, you will be able to vote all the way until 9. That was approved by a local judge for Dallas County. And there was a second county, Williamson County. Same thing happened, and it was extended to 10 p.m. To be clear, Dallas County is Democratic. Williamson County is very Republican. But then the Texas Supreme Court halted that on a technicality. The Texas Supreme Court said, we're halting this on a technicality because the person who filed this lawsuit, it was like the Democratic Party of whoever it was a Democratic Party officer who filed the lawsuit. The allegation, and I got my air quotes up, y'all, is that they did not properly. Why the fuck are these balloons? We ain't celebrating shit. Get that off my screen. Sorry, guys. I don't even know where that came from. I think it was my goddamn MacBook. Let me regroup. I'm too fucking crazy for this shit. All right. The election, it was extended until 10 p.m. There were the 2 counties. Oh, the technicality that the Texas Supreme Court mentioned was that they failed to notify the Texas Attorney General. In other words, whenever you're filing for what's called an injunction or emergency relief, you have to be able to show that you notified the other party. That way, if they are not in attendance at the hearing, the judge feels that under due process laws, he can still make a ruling because at least you tried. They don't have to show up, but at least they were notified. More than likely, and I haven't pulled the specific document, but more than likely, they notified someone within the Texas Attorney General's office, and the Texas Attorney General is like, oh, they didn't notify the right person. Fuck you. Fuck you. You knew what the fuck was up because you knew what was happening all goddamn day. And here's what was happening all day. All right, throughout the state of Texas, here was the law. Up until 2018, the law was as follows. I know because I had to deal with it. The law said in early voting, which is for 2 weeks prior to the election, which is always on a Tuesday, early voting, you can vote anywhere in your county. So if you want to go on your lunch break and you live somewhere other than where you work on your lunch break, you can go the nearest place, go vote. But if you wait until election day, you have to vote at your precinct. Most people don't fucking know where their precinct is because it's small. It's titty size. It's like a little bitty, well, some people have big titties. I don't know. It's nipple size, tiny. This happened to me because I waited until election day when it was the Hillary and it was Hillary versus the Orange Man. And I actually didn't even know where my precinct was because I was so accustomed to voting at like my church and other places like that were super convenient. Anyway, so that was the law until 2018. In 2019, it changed. It changed throughout Texas. Here's the current law. Current law says this is determined on a county by county basis. If your county wants to allow you to do anywhere in early voting and anywhere in the county, not just your precinct on election day, they can do that, but both parties must agree. The Republicans must agree and the Democrats. In all Texas counties, both parties agreed to allow this to happen, except for Dallas and Williamson County, the two counties that had the problem. So I hope that follows. In other words, those two counties, the Republican Party said, we don't want to make it easier for people to vote on election day. We want them to have to figure out where their fucking precinct is. And when I tell you in one city, there could be like 124 precincts. Some precincts had nobody in there. It makes it more expensive to vote because you're having people man precincts that ain't nobody fucking going to. Okay? But the Republican Party, remember, it had to be unanimous. Republicans and Dems had to agree, and they did not. That's what created this issue. But I also want to clarify, this has been known for months. So both parties, we're going to talk about the Dem side, okay? We're going to talk about the Republican side. Both sides knew this, but most importantly, on the Democratic primary ticket, Jasmine knew this for months. Tallarico knew this for months. It was a much bigger deal for Jasmine than Tallarico because Dallas was her base. Dallas is where it was expected to pick up a lot of steam, ground votes, etc. Now, I had asked certain questions because I was like, for me, the numbers in the strategy of Jasmine's campaign, I wasn't understanding it as a Texan. We're going to talk about that separate. But one of the main things was I knew that in Houston, election day, I go wherever. But I know how people roll. And in Dallas, with that significant of a change, and I hadn't gotten anything. I still get voting alerts for Dallas because I own property in Dallas. I own property in Dallas, property in Houston. I hadn't seen anything that was warning people of this, but it was well aware. So the Republican Braxton went to court to stop the count in Dallas. Oh, yeah. Yes, we're on the voter suppression. That is correct. I think you can ask for a provisional ballot. So what happened? Correct. So what happened is the Texas Supreme Court said, hey, there's a technicality. The Democrats did not properly notify the Texas Attorney General. So we are not at this point going to allow those votes to count. They will be provisional. Now, for Crockett supporters, the benefit to that is that those votes that happen after 7 but before 9, since they are provisional, they're somewhere, they're like in a stack and they could be calculated, right? The bigger problem, though, is how many people, when they were turned away, cried and just gave up, like this woman here. It sucks. It sucks tremendously. But I knew they were going to play these shenanigans, which is number one, why I voted before I left. I did my early voting. Me and my girl, Shona, Solange, because we're Beyonce and Solange. Shona, like her real name is Solange. But anyway, my girl, Shona, we literally were thinking about, that was who I was with in Barbados. We were thinking about like, okay, do we want to just get a mail-in ballot? That way we could fill that in, mail it back. I didn't trust mail-in ballots. I didn't trust nothing, but I got to lay eyes on you, Nichols. I got to lay eyes on you, and I got to see you put my ballot in the ballot box because I don't trust nothing about you criminals. You're led by a criminal, and you act with criminality, and I hate you all. So it is voter suppression. I also need to correct another myth. There is a myth that said Tallarico has not denounced suppression. Not true. Not true. He has definitely denounced that. And he stated that he wanted to join, also, I won't say join, but also wanted to file a lawsuit to extend the counties. I also want to be clear, Williamson County, the second county where this happened, that was a Republican county. That was not a Democratic county. It says you can take a mail-in ballot. Thank you, to drop it off in person. So good to know. But yes, they have been playing. How is this? How is this right? The problem is with the law. We got to know the laws, right? Crockett's a lawyer, right? She knows them laws. We have to know the laws so we can fight the laws. It says, how is this right? It should be no one's business what party that you vote for. Well, oh, good question. No, but they have to know if you're going to the Democratic or Republican primary because it's a different ballot. That's all. Really, the question is, what ballot do you need? This one or this one? Now, perhaps technologically, you should be able to just walk up to the computer and hit a button, but they have to know what ballot to give you. So, but I totally understand your concern there. But so then this brings the question, people are upset. There are so many people that I have seen who have said, you know what? It is unfair that Tallarico, that this white boy won. I'm not even voting. What I'm telling you is this is why Republicans will win Texas. Y'all are falling for it. You're falling for it. See, the Republican strategy was create division based on race because the majority of the Republicans in the state of Texas are white or Latino. And division based on race, right? We've got a white candidate and we've got a black candidate. That division based on race, their expectation was if we make it severe enough, it will pervade all the way through the primary. It will get black voters to sit out. And without black voters, then they will never flip Texas blue. And y'all falling for it. Some of y'all, not all. The idiots are falling for it. I've read that James Tallarico eats babies. I've read that he's really a Trumper and he's playing into, he does what Trump says. I have read a plethora of things. Very interesting. But I wanted to be, yes, I wanted to be clear on how that was. But I also, this is a summary I want to share with you. I want to share with you this summary that I felt was so well written. And this was well written by a African-American, Mr. Ernest Owens. He is an African-American male who lives in Dallas County. So many people that were not in Dallas County were trying to tell everybody else, this is what you're supposed to do and this is how it's supposed to go. Let me tell you, part of the confusion is some people very much feel Crockett, the race was stolen for her. And I am not dismissing your sentiments, but I want to give you all the facts to put it in context so you can decide how you want to feel with all the facts in one place. One of those said facts, yes, Crockett does have a lawsuit. That's right. She's the one that she has one in addition. In my understanding, hold on, I have not read it yet, is that Crockett has a lawsuit in addition to whomever, excuse me, filed to try and get the time extended. But one of the important factors that we need to is James Tallarico. He entered the race. He's Harvard educated. He was a school teacher. He's a minister. He was a state rep for 7 years, the same amount of time as Barack Obama. Okay. Then we've got Crockett. She is an attorney. She's been an attorney 15 plus years now. She was a state rep for, I want to say 4 years, and then she became Congresswoman. I want to say, I think a lot of people, a lot of Democrats have been shell-shocked after the Hillary Clinton loss to Trump. And there was discussion about Crockett's electability. Some people say, oh, that means it's about her being black. No. That did, for some people, I am sure that factored into it. But with electability, part of that is who can cross over to white Christian evangelicals. Just stay with me for a second, okay? The other part is James he entered the race when it was just basically him and Colin Allred, and then Colin Allred dropped out. And Jasmine, on the last possible day to enter the race, Jasmine entered. Now, many people are like, oh, I know people who are saying she didn't, run as long. That's the same thing they used against Kamala. Well, this is different. Here's why. She had a very firm congressional seat. and it was clear the only reason she ran for state and switched to state Senate was after the Texas Supreme Court upheld the gerrymandering that changed her seat to a purple seat. It was blue. It was blue-black. It was blue-black. That's my mom and them district. It was, by that I mean, like majority black, unless you know, but a firm blue. There was no question that it is a black historical neighborhood. So I say that to say it was not clear. It was not until it was clear that she would have to fight in a new district that she said, I want to move over to this race. Guess what? She is a free woman of color. She can do what the hell she wants. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need to be fair. Because if it's okay for her to do that, it's okay for James Tallarico to also say, I don't want to run for governor. I want to run for state Senate, which is allegedly what he said. Now follow that along. There were a number of Texans. So what I am just telling you is there was a number of influencers, big name influencers outside of Texas that were pushing hard for Crockett. Real hard. And I think it gave some people a sense that like she's winning. Just because you're the loudest doesn't mean you're the winner. And I think that's where a lot of people misalign. When I kept seeing these, like Eric Benet just posted something that said he would never vote for Tallarico. Bitch, you can't. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Get out of here. You're not fucking helping. Because you're trying to, when you do that, you're encouraging people not to vote. For whoever the Republican is, because by not showing up, they win. Do I think Colin Allred should have stayed in? Do I think he could have won? No. Colin Allred, I have voted for him every time I could. He was my state rep when I lived in Dallas. Good looking boy, but he's boring. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Now there's phlegm in the back of my throat. No, Colin does really good in a seat like Congress, where you just need to be like likable locally. He don't got the sauce. He ain't got the sauce. Even when he's standing up there with Jasmine, bless his heart, he looked just as awkward as can be, Pumpkin. He looked like a nice boy. He is looking like a nice boy. But no. Her personality in Congress, to me, she didn't represent my Texas. How she used her words. Okay, that's what Lloyd said. All right, so let me read to you this summary. We're going to talk about this summary, and then we're going to talk about what's next, because I actually think there's some way better opportunities for Crockett to build her national brand in politics, influence in politics. And I need you to hear me. I need you to hear me before we end. All right, so this one that was shared. So James says, the Texas results are in. James won, Crockett lost. I knew this would happen because I grew up in Texas. But social media algorithms and paid political content creators have allowed for political stand culture to drain out any common sense. Let me explain. Oh, and let me let you know. I know for a fact there were certain paid political content creators who were receiving over $5,000 a month to stand for their candidate. 10,000 was normal. 5 to 10,000. And we're talking people that weren't even in Texas. They couldn't even vote. I know that for a fact. Okay, next, for starters, it's not just racism and sexism that led to Crockett losing. She entered the race much later than Tallarico, who made major inroads on the ground with voters before she switched gears to run. People were excited about James. Also, James was like, literally, I would see clips of James online from last year when he entered the race. I didn't even know James was a goddamn Democrat. That's how good he is. By good, I am defining Texas good. I need you to take off your East Coast hat or your West Coast hat. We is Texas. And the way to win Texas is not. Jasmine ran an excellent campaign for Maryland. She ran a perfect or a very good campaign. Nothing's perfect for New York. She ran a great campaign for certain places like this. Okay. All right. So next she says, but with Tallarico, I didn't know what party it was. I just knew when he went to the Texas Senate, because they were trying to have the 10 Commandments in the classroom, but they had that they had the hearing on a Sunday. He sat up there and told these people, basically, he walked them into the conclusion of, don't you think that it's better to live the 10 Commandments than simply post them? And oh, by the way, what's today? Sunday. And what is the commandment that says about Sunday? It says, don't work on the Sabbath, stupid. All right. Next, he writes, while Crockett was ensuring others drop out for her to enter, as in, I think he's implying Colin Allred, that Colin needed to drop so she could enter, Tallarico was building momentum. So it is alleged that the agreement between Crockett and Colin was, Colin, I got this. You drop out, you run for my old seat. I will, and then I will run against Tallarico. Hold on. Wait, I didn't even check. Yeah, Colin won his primary. That's not even a question. Okay. Then next it says Crockett ran a campaign that wasn't a good fit for a statewide Texas race. Hold on. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me finish. It's just a few slides. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments, because what I've seen is a lot of Jasmine's supporters are loyal. Hey, Black women are loyal. That's just what we are. And it's not that her fans are not solely Black women. It's white women. It's all type of people. But I need you to hear this through. This person who does political analysis said a campaign wasn't a good fit for statewide Texas race. She garnered national appeal for fundraisers, but delayed on essential things like an updated campaign website that finally featured her platform until only a few weeks before the primary. Celebrity endorsements in a campaign that centered on her personal brand just wasn't going to move with Texas voters who wanted to know more about how she would transition from Congress to Senate. Furthermore, diverse Texas voters I spoke to who personally liked Crockett felt that she wasn't taking the race as seriously until after they voted early. Some felt the Kamala Harris endorsement would have changed their mind if it was earlier, but they also felt that Crockett would be fine either way. I kept hearing people suggest that Crockett should go on MS Now or CNN if this didn't work out, as in like, oh, she could be a political analyst. In terms of Tallarico, some voters felt social media narratives surrounding him were manufactured in ways that felt disingenuous or misleading. I seen one that was the one that said that he called Colin Allred a mediocre Black man was totally misleading. He said he was running a mediocre campaign as a Texas voter. There was nothing inspiring about his campaign. Jasmine's campaign was inspiring for a plethora of people throughout Texas. It was inspiring as a woman, as a Black woman, as a person who's fucking sick of Trump. Her campaign was inspiring. Tallarico's campaign was inspiring. But what happens is they turn Tallarico into a victim when you start manufacturing ish. And it appeared as though that was a Colin Crockett combo to be like, oh, he called me a mediocre Black guy. Baby, Colin, you should have stayed out of that. That wasn't even until Colin heard himself being called that, he shouldn't have went on the internet and did that. And then it says someone at Crockett to take the high road and not engaging in online drama that centered on issues that directly did not impact Texas voters. For example, the CBS late night show interview mess with FCC. Yo, that was, yeah, I agree with that. Because I'm like, I totally get you want to defend yourself in a situation, but she sided with the Trump administration on that one. All right. And lastly, there was too much internal fighting within progressive and liberal voters regarding Crockett. While Tallarico's more moderate and pragmatic base were consolidating behind him, Crockett's base were beginning to divide over her stances on Israel and other litmus tests that distracted from her overall platform. The very excited social media following that hyped her up would start to turn on her. So in closing, it would be easy and lazy to say that Texas voters were not ready to elect a Black woman to the Senate, but that would be disingenuous. The truth is that progressive Democrats got to learn how to be the way certain candidates must move in certain states in order to advance a more forward agenda. Every progressive cannot be AOC and Mamdani because they don't live in New York. You'll never elect anyone like Crockett in Texas if you hold them to East Coast progressive standards. The lady is correct. I live in Dallas and voted for her. Voters know she could not compete with a white conservative. I don't know if, hey, Angie, I don't know if you're talking about for the statewide race or if you're referring to Tallarico as a conservative. But I do think he's more like compared to her, more moderate for sure. Her personality in Congress to me didn't represent my Texas, how she used her words. It's about character for me. What about her slave comment concerning Latino voters? Well, I think I didn't hear it. So I can't speak on that. But I do think that overall, when you have, I'm going to leave this up. Overall, when you have the option of speaking specifically to Latino voters, when the option is someone who is more, progressive and militant versus a candidate who is religious based, Jesus, they're going to go with Jesus all the time. That is how Trump won the Latino vote that he did win, is because they lean very religious, very Catholic in those things. Lies. Okay. She was already elected once, so miss me with that. They don't want a Black woman. No. Angela, you're missing something. Black people elected her, not white ones. She has never run in a purple district. For me, the question no one has seemed to answer, please help me in the chat, help me in the comments. I would like to hear I have to date not heard a logical answer to this. She did not run for re-election for her seat. Her congressional seat was previously held by someone who held it for 40 years. That is a seat that when you get it, it's yours for life. However, she was redistricted, right? She did not believe she could win the seat that is now purple. It went from Black to purple. I know this. It was my community. If you don't feel like you can win a purple seat, how do you think you're going to win a state race? No one has been able to define that for me. Someone told me, and I said, it seems very similar to Kamala. And they said, well, the difference is Jasmine had more. Kamala only had 100 days. But then look back at it. Jasmine had a short amount of time because Jasmine was waiting for the election or the Supreme Court results to find out if her district would stand. Someone says Jasmine wasn't diverse to win. I think her approach did not resonate with white with basically a lot of non-Black voters. That's it. And the Democratic side. It didn't. And it wasn't simply because she was Black. It was if you give them the option of somebody who is Democratic and talks about Jesus, they like that. They like it. Thank you. Not white, all people, but also people still have shell shock and they want to say, all right, I know who I want. Effectively, they're like, I want anybody who's not a Republican. Who do I think I can vote for that them idiots over there would be willing to vote for too? And that is where the difficulty lies, I believe, for for Crockett. But here is Texas State Rep Yolanda Jones, a Black woman, Yolanda Jones, speaking on her views on the campaign for Crockett. And this is what she thought she'd do better. But then I want to conclude with how I think this is actually a win for Jasmine. I think it's a win. This is her on Don Lemon.
Happened in this race, not who should have won or any of that, but what happened as it relates to just the race in general.
So you understand that I'm in Houston, and they allege that the suppression happened in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So I've talked to people in Dallas, and they told me what happened, but I'm going to talk about what I know in Houston. And what I know in Houston, there was no voter suppression in Houston. What I know in Houston, for anybody who follows campaigns, I saw some glaring things that weren't done prior to Election Day that serious campaigns do prior to Election Day, and glaring things that are normally done in successful campaigns on Election Day that were not done. Specifically, I didn't receive one door knock from anyone on Congressman Crockett's campaign. Not one. I'm a super voter. I never miss an election. We are the people that people contact if they have any money at all to try to persuade us to vote for them, right? I didn't receive one piece of mail. Again, we normally get mail. Don't know why that didn't happen. The only time I saw Congresswoman Crockett was when I watched Beyond the Gates, which is a Black soap opera, and she would have one commercial. So that's one thing I was just trying to figure out. There's no infrastructure. There were no robodials, no calls. Black people in the political space, because there's a whole economy there, were complaining that no one was reached out to because Black media, and we know Black people. On Election Day, I worked Acres Homes, which is one of the highest voting Black polls in Houston. I worked Wheeler, one of the highest voting Black polls in Houston, on yesterday. I saw one Jasmine yard sign in a sea of signs.
All right, we're not about to pile on this lady, but pile on by the lady. I mean, we're not gonna pile on Jasmine Crockett's campaign. Like, they did a really good job. Like, these are excellent numbers, but we're gonna get to that. The point of Yolanda Jones's point was that she was saying that it seemed as though perhaps her campaign focused maybe more so on Dallas, but not so much in Houston. I couldn't get a yard sign. I live in Houston, and I couldn't get a yard sign, as an example. When are the Democrats going to learn to win elections? Well, not this year, because what they're doing now is you've got a bunch of idiots who says, I'll vote for no one before Tallarico. Great. That's playing into the Republican playbook. That's exactly what you want. What the Republicans want. Is not I'm not at all Republican. And to say, yeah, Jasmine won local elections. So to say, like, I think they're referring to Angie. I understand, Angie, you're upset. Like, a lot of people just feel like it wasn't fair. And it says, Angie was saying, Jasmine already was elected once, so miss me with the whole electability. They just don't want a Black woman. You cannot compare someone who won the seat that Jasmine won to someone with statewide electability. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. But see, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about people from outside of the state, especially East Coast areas, that don't have a grasp of how it works in the state of Texas. It's just totally different. Those two seats, those are the Negro seats. Okay. The seat that she won, it was literally like a way to pacify and get around the true racism of the redistricting by saying, oh, we're going to keep this, we're going to keep giving the Blacks just one seat. But that is a seat that has been ours historically. It is not a seat that has required crossover. Jasmine has a phenomenal national brand. Okay. She has a national brand. And so that national brand allowed, it was Angie. My bad. She has a national brand that, it was Angela. Sorry. But if you can't write, let me see. Sorry, but if you can, a white option compared to Black, they will choose. Okay. They will choose the white option, especially with Latinos. They think are white adjacent. Girl, I'm not going to disagree. A lot of them do think that they are. You know what? Plies put up a post today. He was like, wait, I thought we were on the same team, like Blacks and Latinos, but do y'all think you're white? No, but that's how come when you check the thing, like, it'll ask you for race, white, non-Hispanic, white, Hispanic, or non-white Hispanic, because you can be both. But I do believe that when they come over here, absolutely, they do think that. I also think that If you could get a black, like if you had a black female who was a pastor, somebody give Jasmine a church. Put on a deacon board. Put on a deacon board. If you have something like that, I'm being facetious, but I do think they will be more likely because of that. But hold on, I want to show you this clip. This that I thought was really well done. Now, when I saw it at first, I said, "What is this girl over here talking about? She is causing them. She is full of ish." I want you to hear this. I want you to hear it all.
And I don't just mean because he's a white dude from Texas. The dude,
because she's saying Tallarico is MAGA passing. And she says, I don't mean it just because he's a white dude from Texas. Let's listen to her.
is able to use language in a way that bridges his progressive ideas to people who may not agree with him in a place where they would normally put up a wall. And he should be scaring the hell out of Donald Trump and MAGA, because this isn't just about the Texas Senate race. The way that he speaks and the way that he frames his Christian beliefs in the context of his political beliefs is the kind of thing that starts to break down Christian nationalism. He is literally Christian enough to call out the Christian nationalists as anti-Christian. There have been a lot of people who've been taught for the last several decades that the best way to have their religious beliefs fulfilled and have them carried out so that society is better is to vote for the Republican Party. But this guy is turning that on its head, because at a time when this administration is doing more and more terrible things that Christians are starting to question their support of, James Tallarico offers an alternative framework for those Christians to understand politics through religion. Tallarico is MAGA passing, and I don't just mean because he's a white dude from
I thought that was a really good summary, because initially I thought she was going to be on some racist foolishness. But what she said makes sense. And I think that's what I think the frustration that a lot of Black voters feel is they feel like you lean on us when you need us, but then when you don't need us, you dismiss us. And I think two things can be true. Like, okay, so Angie B says two things can be true. She was elected by her community, and no, they don't want a Black woman for state senate. Two things can be true, right? I would say it appears based on the results, she didn't get the majority, right? And it was 46% to 53%. That's considerable. Even leaving room for the Dallas shenanigans, which for months was anticipated, right? Doesn't make it right, but was anticipated. I think she still wouldn't be able to make up that gap, the 46-53. That gap wouldn't be made up. But I think the frustration is that you say you want us to, but we don't feel that we get fair opportunities to participate completely. But we're not talking about, nobody keeps talking about the fucking elephant in the room, which is they never wanted her to run in the first place. She was not supposed to run. That she didn't quote get the consent of the party. They already had two people in the race. They had Colin and they had Tallarico. She was supposed to be running for her reelection. She's only in her second term. That is super new for a congresswoman. Because of that, you can't say she wasn't supported, because you're doing something you weren't supposed to do no way, that there was not a consensus on. There wasn't a plan for this. The truth of what happened is that if she had not been redistricted out of her seat, she wouldn't have run for Senate. Can we just agree on that basic fact? She wouldn't have done that. So you can't say, oh, she wasn't supported, when she created a whole new team. She created a whole new plan. You don't get to create a new plan and to be mad that people who had already been enacting another plan for 6 fucking months aren't now jumping over to your team. It says Black women need to reset while building up our own communities. But also, we need to be able to take constructive feedback. Her approach was perfect for the national stage. It was entertaining. It was gripping. She was telling the truth while entertaining us in these boring ass congressional hearings. But you have to be able to take constructive feedback. That's not going to get people in McAllen, Texas, Brownsville, Texas, in these border towns. It's not going to get them over. So what can we do? And we talk about it and we institute it. Here's the truth. I think the Texas Democratic Senate race is a dummy mission for whoever wants to do it. By dummy mission, whoever it is going to lose. I don't want them to. I don't wish that on nobody, but they're going to lose. What I see for Jasmine, and I don't know the lady personally, but what I see is not a dummy mission, is a congressional seat that she likes and that she's comfortable with. It's way easier to run a congressional seat. And you're not aware, Congress would be, think of like running for judge of like 2 counties or something like that. Like it's a lot easier. It's more direct. You get in that core and you have that core base. That's why the people got them seats for 40 years. Here's what I didn't understand. Why and the answer could solely be she doesn't want to, right? Because you're not gonna make nobody run for nothing they don't want to. Just like how they said James Talarico was supposed to run for governor. He said, I don't want to run for governor. I don't want to run for state senate. But my thought was, if Jasmine would be open to it, running for re-election for a Texas redistrict seat, whichever one, right? Because it was something about like she was redistricted out of where she lived, whatever the one. Get one of them Dallas ones. Why not make her Speaker of the House? That's better than some old raggedy senator any goddamn way, if you ask me. Speaker of the House. Stay with me. I feel like the way she don't back down, the way she be gathering people together with facts, the way that she gets people excited about voting. Let me take this down because we really don't need to see this at this moment. The way she gets people excited, that seems like that would make her prime perfect candidate over time, right? Because right now we've got Hakeem Jeffries, and I know that there's a system for it. But Nancy Pelosi was in that bitch till she was dead. Oh, I don't know. Is she still alive? Does Jasmine Crockett not give Speaker of the House energy? She gives me Speaker of the progressive motherfucking House. And that's what we need. Speak, girl. Speak. What you want to say? Yeah. Someone says, okay, Tasha says, there is seniority. Seniority is a thing. You are right. But if you get you a good, comfortable seat, there's seniority and there's also voting, right? So you got to work within the party. There's layers to it. You don't just get to be I'm not going to pretend like you could just be a freshman congresswoman and then, oh yeah, all of a sudden you get to be a Speaker of the House. But oh, Nancy's still alive. Well, okay. There's Nancy. But Nancy's gone. Okay, it was time for Nancy to go. We've got Hakeem Jeffries in there now. But I say that to say that is a role where she could be a leader, continue to lead within the party, be extremely effective. I would argue more effective than one little raggedy state, one little Texas senator. But it would also enable her to use her strengths to gather these motherfuckers together. That's my thought. She can't be Speaker because the GOP hasn't. You're right. I mean, the minority whip. You know what I'm talking about. The one that Hakeem Jeffries is now. My apologies. I made B's in politics. But I mean this person that speaks on behalf of the entire party in the House for your specific party. That is someone who has to be, we ain't taking no mess. For example, in the Texas State Senate and so forth, remember they had the redistricting and then all the senators left the state, but then they gave up and some of them started coming back. Jasmine would have had them motherfuckers in line. They said, get your it, stay your ass out of Texas. Not only was she had them in line, but for the ones who were like, oh, I got to come back. I got to feed my dog. I got to buy my pet food. Oh, because Texas state senators only make like $800 a month as a Texas state senator, which is in a Texas rep, which is fucking ridiculous. On the state level, Jasmine would have been like, I'm going to go on CNN and I'm going to do an interview and we're going to get some money for your goddamn pet dog for your chihuahua and your kids. Okay, we're gonna get this, but don't you bring your ass back to Texas until we get what we need. She would have gathered them, and that's what we need. That's what we need. Can I get an amen in the chat? Can I get an amen? So I'm saying, and I do not want to dismiss. For those who are disappointed, it is understandable, and it is okay to grieve. And it is okay to kick and scream and say, I don't think that this was fair. I don't think that the party is valuing her the way that they, all of that is okay. But then now, give yourself a little bit of time. Kind of like when you break up with a nigga you ain't never been, should have been with in the first place. I'm sorry, I don't mean to use the M word. When you break up with somebody you ain't never should have been with in the first place, after you grieve, give yourself like a week. Get tested, make sure you don't have anything, and then it's time for action. So we're going to check back in a week. It's time for action. They need to give the girl a podcast. Amazon, Netflix, give her a podcast. Now, she was supposed to have one. It was a rumor that she had one coming with Stephen Colbert. But I'm going to guess that's not happening after she called him racist for having Tallarico on and not her. I don't know that. Yes. Take a little time. Reset. Yes. Take a little time. Take a little time, reset. Mika says, you're right, but that's why you have to hold down the seat. It's sad. That's why they don't have terms, because you don't get speaker or pro tem without seniority, unfortunately. But she can get that seniority, baby. She can get in her sleep. But by sleep, I mean consistently. I mean, once she stays in her seat, like, to the point where I feel like her supporters are so supportive. Like once she got to that seniority level, like the way people would be tossing trash cans and throwing things in it, like this is it. Like we want to, and it allows her to have the strength and the power and be able to fundraise for the party, because that is probably also a large part of why she and others within the party are upset is don't come over here bothering me when y'all need some motherfucking money and then don't support me when I want to win. Okay? Don't come over here when you need some money. Who does that sound like? Does it sound like one of your kids, one of your badass kids who's like, oh, mommy, I want your money. Okay, but did you do your homework? Don't call me, ask me for money if your grades ain't good. It all has to go together. My point is there has to be a plan that all makes sense. But to get to that plan, you can't just hop in a race on the final day when the party itself has not strategically worked together to come through into the unified plan. We can get there. But what has to happen is you got to ignore these ignoramuses like, goddamn, what's that mean? Did cheating on Halle Berry here, the sex edition, Eric Benet. Every day, nobody trusts anything you fucking say. You sound retarded. Sorry. You sound slow. Okay. Eric Benet is the one that went on and was like, I will never vote for Tallarico. Okay. So what you're saying is you to vote Republican. That's what you're saying. Stupid. No. We have to dismiss those. We have to listen to the leaders. Jasmine is saying we got to unify. We also need to reunify so we can get her a seat she likes. I don't know what seat she wants. I don't know that she wants to do that. But what I don't want to see happen is this, and let me be very clear. What I don't want to see happen is I don't want it to be like Stacey Abrams. Hold on. This is not a dig on Stacey. Stacey has her place and her purpose within the party, etc. But it was kind of like nobody. I can't tell you what Stacey does now. I don't know. I don't know what Miss Stacey Abrams does right now. I don't know. And so I do think, though, when I say I don't believe this is a loss for Jasmine, okay, I get tired of people who are like, everything happens for a reason. Fuck that. I wanted to win. Right? Fuck it. I wanted to win. Don't tell me that shit. When I just lost, everything happens for a reason. But I do believe that there are other roles where she could have other roles in Texas Senate, because I don't believe whoever the Democratic candidate is going to win. That ain't nobody going to win Texas. Texas is a whole shit show, a poop bucket. So I'm saying, oh, good. She does have a podcast. Okay. So, oh, Lord. Jesus. We're going to talk about that next. So what I'm saying is that what can happen is she could do a podcast. She could do a show. She can do other things. But I believe that when she entered the Senate race, I don't believe the only definition for her campaign of winning was winning that seat. I believe that a large part of it was a win-win situation in that she had already lost, air quote, her seat by being redistricted, right? And it was going to be, according to her campaign, it was one that she could not have re-won. Otherwise, if she could have re-won it, she would have ran for that seat again. You don't, as only being in your second congressional term, you don't not run for a congressional seat that is as firm as that is to go try your hand at flipping your state of Texas. That doesn't happen. The only reason she did it is because the numbers were saying with the redistrict purple seat, she wasn't going to be able to win it, right? So given that, the point is she had nothing to lose by putting herself in the bucket for Texas senator. Nothing. Because she already had lost the congressional seat. So what she could gain is continuing to stay in the minds and the hearts of Texas voters in the same way that it would prevent like kind of fading out the way that Stacey Abrams has. So after giving her time to like regroup and figure out what she wants to do, then it's time to just listen to her as a candidate and say, okay, well, what do you want to do next? What would you like to do next? And how can we, as your supporters, support you in whatever that goal is? Because Texas is crazy. Stacey was an attorney and still is. Jasmine is an attorney. She was a criminal, very well known. She was a known criminal attorney. She worked in Arkansas. She worked for, I believe, the DA's office in Arkansas. She actually ran for DA of Texarkana when she was young, maybe like 4 or 5 years out of law school. She wasn't playing around. So Jasmine is a criminal attorney. So of course she can practice criminal law. She's got her podcast. She's got other things. But I believe as an attorney, the best branding you can have is running for something like Senate. Baby, them commercials sell themselves. You ain't got to be standing on top of a truck talking about, I'm Jim Andler, the tough, smart lawyer. She will never have to do that. Ever. So let me know your questions below. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. There was something that someone said. Someone said, about Colin Allred. Okay, I want to go back to that. And he said, Colin Allred has a runoff election in May. Okay, so to those of y'all who said Tallarico should not have said Colin ran a mediocre campaign, this is what happens when you run a mediocre campaign. He did not call that man a mediocre black man. He said you ran a mediocre campaign. Colin should not be in no fucking runoff. Absolutely not. So a runoff in Texas means you did not get more than 50% of the vote. Colin has been in this game too gosh darn long to have not gotten 51% of the vote for Jasmine's former seat. You sound crazy. That sounds crazy. And that means the runoff means he didn't get more than 50%, and whoever the other Democratic candidate was did not get more than 50%. I think it wasn't Mark Beasley. I can't remember. My point is, if you can't win that seat, Colin Bukey, you wasn't going to win Texas Senate. It wasn't going to happen. All right. Good to see y'all. Drop your comments below. I will see you guys. It's Thursday for y'all. I'm in Bali. So it's Friday for me. But I'll see you guys on Monday at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. Take care. And hit that like and hit that subscribe.
Is that legal? Is that legal? Is that legal?